Hello, it's Willie from the Ozarks, and we're ready for our February the 10th lesson in the Course in Miracles workbook for students. Lesson 41 from the original edition. God goes with me wherever I go. God goes with me wherever I go. Today's idea will eventually overcome completely the sense of loneliness and abandonment which all the separated ones experience. Depression is an inevitable consequence of separation. So are anxiety, worry, a deep sense of helplessness, misery, suffering, and intense fear of loss. The separated ones have invented many cures for what they believe to be the ills of the world. But the one thing they do not do is to question the reality of the problem. Yet its effects cannot be cured because the problem is not real. You know, that was such a liberating thought for me when I realized that there really wasn't an answer why I was feeling so discouraged about certain things. I kept looking for the reason. And then by looking at this, I say, well, hold it. It's based on nothing. There's not a reason, because I believe I'm basing it on the concept that I'm separated. So we want to question the reality of the problem. The idea for today has the power to end all this foolishness forever. And foolishness it is, despite the serious and tragic forms it may take. Deep within you is everything that is perfect, ready to radiate through you and out into the whole world. It will cure all sorrow and pain and fear and loss, because it will heal the mind that thought these things were real and suffered out of its allegiance to them. You can never be deprived of your perfect holiness, because its source goes with you wherever you go. God goes with you wherever you go. You can never suffer, because the source of all joy goes with you wherever you go. You can never be alone, because the source of life goes with you wherever you go. Nothing can destroy your peace of mind, because God goes with you wherever you go. We understand that you do not believe all this. How could you, when the truth is hidden deep within and under a heavy cloud of insane thoughts, dense and obscuring, yet representing all you see? Today we will make our first real attempt to get past this dark and heavy cloud and go through it to the light beyond. Wow, our first real attempt to get through this dense, heavy cloud of unreality to the light beyond. There will be only one long practice period today. In the morning, as soon as you get up, if possible, sit quietly for some 3 to 5 minutes with your eyes closed. At the beginning of the practice period, repeat today's idea very slowly. God goes with me wherever I go. Then make no effort to think of anything. Try instead to get a sense of turning inward, past all the idle thoughts of the world. Try to enter very deeply into your own mind, keeping it clear of any thoughts that might divert your attention. Many yoga teachings are based on this particular type of meditation that he's teaching us today. A mindfulness practice in Buddhism. From time to time, you may repeat today's idea if you find it helpful, which is God goes with me wherever I go. In other words, when you're going into the silence and you're trying to just not think of anything and go a little deeper and just be trying to sink down and inward and see your inner landscape, what thoughts are going on, be mindful of those. Well, then as you do that, you might kind of get distracted and you might find it kind of an anchor to keeping yourself close at what you're doing just by repeating the idea for the day. God goes with me wherever I go. From time to time, you may repeat today's idea if you find it helpful, but most of all, try to sink down and inward away from the world and all the foolish thoughts of the world. You are trying to reach past all these things. You're trying to leave appearances and approach reality. You're trying to leave appearances and approach reality. It is quite possible to reach God. It is quite possible to reach God. In fact, it is very easy because it is the most natural thing in the world. You might even say it is the only natural thing in the world. The way will open if you believe that it is possible. You've got to believe that this is possible to reach God, to get beyond all the foolish thoughts that are literally have driven us insane, and go beyond them to the quiet of our oneness with God. This exercise can bring very startling results even the first time it is attempted. And sooner or later, it is always successful. Isn't that a nice reassurance? So learn this particular practice well. We will go into more detail in connection with this kind of practice as we go along, but it will never fail completely, and instant success is possible. Throughout the day, use today's idea often, repeating it very slowly and preferably with eyes closed. Think of what you're saying, what the words mean. Concentrate on the holiness which they imply about you, on the unfailing companionship which is yours, on the complete protection that surrounds you. You can indeed afford to laugh at fear thoughts, remembering that God goes with you wherever you go. So let's look at our fear thoughts and laugh at them today. But many times today, let's bathe ourselves in the thought, God goes with me wherever I go. So go inside today one time for about 5 minutes and sink down past all of the confusing thoughts, whatever thoughts they are, good or bad. Just go beyond them. Go deeper to the silence, to the stillness, to the quietness. All right? You'll be able to hear the small, still voice of God. All right, that's lesson 41. Now let's go take a look in our text reading. And we are ready for the two emotions, section 10 in the Problem of Guilt, chapter 12. As you're turning there to read with me, let me tell you out of the Baker's Creek catalog about an okra. In general, okras are the Abomotius esculentus. That's the genus and species, and it's 30 to 75 day plants. This African native and staple of the Deep South really thrives on heat. Enslaved people from Angola called okra ngumbo, which became gumbo, a popular name for several okra dishes to this day. Gumbo. I think of Louisiana. That's where my dad was from. Does best when direct sown into warm soil, but can be started earlier indoors and transplanted, so long as the young plants aren't allowed to become root bound. And you know what root bound is? When your roots get up against the pot and they want to keep growing outward, but they can't, so they make a turn and they start growing around in circles. You know, you always want to cut that off, but they're saying okra doesn't do good if it gets to that point. So you don't want it to be so long in the pot that it gets root bound, it's saying. Otherwise, just plant them outside in the warm sun. They don't do good until it's pretty warm anyways, I've noticed. Does best when direct sown in warm soil, but can be started earlier indoors and transplanted so long as the young plants aren't allowed to become root bound. Soil for okra need not be especially rich. Plants are drought tolerant, but produce more with adequate moisture. Keeping pods picked encourages further production. And also, you need to almost go out there every day to pick them because they tend to get, really hard to eat if you wait too long. And then you just pick something that's basically going to have to just go in the compost, unless you chew it up and spit the pulp out. And those are that spines, I suppose they call that. The kind I always have grown is the crimson spineless. The crimson spineless It's a real common heirloom. Plant is spineless with tasty green pods that are best picked small, because they'll still develop some spines, make it, well, maybe not the spines, but what am I trying to say? I was thinking spines, but I'm thinking now maybe it's just the fibrous cordage inside that makes it hard to chew them up if you let them get too big. Still a standard in many home gardens, it was developed in 1939. The Crimson Spineless. So there's the okra that I like to plant, and we'll probably look at some other ones too. Okay, God goes with me wherever I go. Be sure to say that throughout the day, many times. The two emotions in the text. We have said that you have but two emotions, love and fear. One is changeless but continually exchanged, being offered by the eternal to the eternal. In this exchange it is extended, for it increases as it is given. Of course, that'd be love. The other has many forms, for the content of individual illusions differs greatly. Yet they have one thing in common. They are all insane. Why? Because they're based on privateness or separateness or division. You're separate from God. God doesn't go with you wherever you go in the insane world. They are made of sights which are not seen and sounds which are not heard. They make up a private world which cannot be shared, for they are meaningful only to their Maker, and so they have no meaning at all. In this world their Maker moves alone, for only He perceives them. Paragraph 34. Each one peoples his world with figures from his individual past, and it is because of this that private worlds do differ. Yet the figures that he sees were never real, for they are made up only of his reactions to his brothers and do not include their reactions to him. Ooh, let's catch that. Yet the figures that he sees were never real, for they are made up only of his reactions to his brothers and do not include their reactions to him. They haven't yet realized that when your brother reacts to you, that is a creation of your own mind, that you've made that experience happen. That's part of your, it's your opportunity for salvation if seen right, but it's also your reason for complexity if you don't see it right. So therefore he does not see that he made them and that they are not whole. So they're not whole. They're not seeing themselves in their brothers. For these figures have no witnesses, being perceived in one separate mind only. You're just in your own mind. Paragraph 35. It is through these strange and shadowy figures that the insane relate to their insane world. For they see only those who remind them of these images, and it is to them that they relate. Thus do they communicate with those who are not there, and it is they who answer them, and no one hears their answer save him who called upon them, and he alone believes they answered him. Projection makes perception, and you cannot see beyond it. Again and again have men attacked each other because they saw in them a shadow figure in their own private world. Again and again have men attacked each other because they saw in them a shadow figure in their own private world. And thus it is that you must attack yourself first, for what you attack is not in others. Its only reality is in your own mind. And by attacking others, you are literally attacking what is not there. By attacking others, you've overlooked your own cause of this in your own mind. And so you've really attacked yourself first. But by attacking others, you're literally attacking what is not there. 36. The delusional can be very destructive, for they do not recognize that they have condemned themselves. They do not wish to die, yet they will not let condemnation go. And so they separate into their private worlds where everything is disordered and where what is within appears to be without. Yet what is within they do not see, for the reality of their brothers they cannot see. In our lesson today, God goes with me wherever I go, and that moment where we're going to go deep inside, well, that hopefully we're going to start uncovering some of these thoughts and go beyond them to the truth. You don't have to really see all the illusions, just get beyond them all so you can remember that God goes with you wherever you go and not have the destructive outer experience seem to be running your life. You go inside and realize that the real creative power of the outside world is the way you see on the inside. Paragraph 37. You have but two emotions, yet in your private world you react to each of them as though it were the other. Let's read that again. You have but two emotions, yet in your private world you react to each of those emotions as though it were the other. So you see in your ego or private world, you see love as fear and fear as love. For love cannot abide in a world apart, where when it comes it is not recognized. If you see your own hatred as your brother, you are not seeing him. If you see your own hatred as your brother, well, you're not seeing him. Everyone draws nigh unto what he loves and recoils from what he fears. And you react with fear to love and draw away from it. Yet fear attracts you, and believing it is love, you call it to yourself. Your private world is filled with the figures of fear you have invited into it. And all the love your brothers offer you, you do not see. As you look with open eyes upon your world, it must occur to you that you have withdrawn into insanity. Paragraph 38. You see what is not there, and you hear what is soundless. Your behavioral manifestations of emotions are the opposite of what the emotions are. You communicate with no one, and you are as isolated from reality as if you were alone in all the universe. In your madness, you overlook reality completely, and you see only your own split mind everywhere you look. God calls you, and you do not hear, for you are preoccupied with your own voice, and the vision of Christ is not in your sight, for you look upon yourself alone. Paragraph 39. Little children, would you offer this to your Father? Okay, that last sentence, that whole last paragraph, but the last sentence. The vision of Christ is not in your sight, for you look upon yourself alone. Little children, would you offer this to your Father? For if you offer it to yourself, you're offering it to Him. And He will not return it, for it is unworthy of you, because it is unworthy of Him. Yet He would release you from it and set you free. His sane answer tells you that what you have offered yourself is not true, but His offering to you has never changed. You who know not what you do can learn what insanity is and look beyond it. You who know not what you do can learn what insanity is and look beyond it. Father, forgive them, for they know not what they do. You who know not what you do can learn what insanity is and look beyond it. That's what we're going to do in our lesson today, in our deep, quiet moment of inward looking, of going down beneath and inward. It is given you to learn how to deny insanity and come forth from your private world in peace. And we'll do that today as we do our lesson. That 5 minutes where we're going to go within, 3 to 5 minutes, and we're going to say, God goes with me wherever I go. And then we're going to, how's he say it? At the beginning of the practice period, repeat today's ideas slowly, then make no effort to think of anything. Try instead to get a sense of turning inward past all the idle thoughts of the world. Try to enter very deeply into your own mind, keeping it clear of any thoughts that might divert your attention. God goes with me wherever I go. And then also, other than your 5 minutes of inward journey, be sure to breathe in the beautiful thought, God goes with me wherever I go. Thank you so much for joining me today. And until tomorrow, over and over and over, like you did yesterday, tell yourself, but today, tell yourself, God goes with me wherever I go.